We are very honored and privileged to be here live talking to the wonderful community, the ecosystem, the stakeholders, startups, founders, and the TGS 2020. So TIE Bangalore is one of the exciting chapters, and we would love to also, a very quick shout out, we are having the IoT Matrix 2020 from today, 5 o'clock. After TGS 2020 gets over, all of you folks must join us, all right? So without further ado, I would love to invite now Ravi Gururaj, who's the president of TIE Bangalore. He's a founder, he's an investor, and currently he's also running QuickPod. So over to you, Ravi, to talk about what we at TIE Bangalore are up to. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijeta, and thank you to the TGS organization team for providing TIE Bangalore this opportunity to expose to you kind of the nationwide and the worldwide set of chapters, what we're doing in Bangalore and really trying to find opportunities to collaborate. I think at TIE Bangalore, we've been around a long time, almost since the founding of TIE in Silicon Valley. We've had, a very hot ecosystem here presently in India. Obviously, one of the epicenters of the technology and startup world anywhere on the planet. I think would rank probably in the top 5 in terms of impact and footprint. And I think within India, the leading, arguably the leading, epicenter for kind of startup activity. So, we want to be collaborative and inclusive and share best practices. And in certain fronts in particular, we've done very well of recent in areas that are growing, and IoT is one such area. And we have a couple of those leaders from that, what we call the IoT Forum. We initially started off as a special interest group, and it evolved very rapidly into a forum. And now it's evolved into almost a standalone industry body that supports the growth, maturation, and nurturing of the IoT industry overall, and very broadly speaking. And we will have 2 of those leaders, Arvind Tiwari and Joy, speak about that this afternoon, and you will get to meet them. I think, between after the IoT Matrix, we will have Surya, who is responsible for a lot of the startup ecosystem activities we do here at TIE Bangalore, Surya Narayanan. He will speak to you all about the kinds of activities we've had and the kind of progress Karnataka has made specifically. And then we'll close out with 2 of our leading and long-standing charter members, board members, and Naganand especially is an ex-president. Parag is one of our officers in the current board, who will speak to you all about the investment landscape here in Karnataka, and what's going on in Bangalore on the investment side and the funding side. So and you all should be prepared with questions for all of our 5 senior charter members, and suggestions as we go along. They'll each speak for about 15 to 20 minutes and then take Q&A, and Vijeta will moderate that. But before I hand off, I'd like to take 1 more minute to kind of tell you a little bit about what we're doing beyond these 3 areas. One is we've been as collaborative as possible in trying to, work with other chapters around the world, work with other countries around the world. So, one of Vijeta's team's mandate is to try and find ways in which we can work with the various delegations that come from different countries, the various tech outreach initiatives and departments that various countries have set up, from the UK to the Netherlands to Canada to Taiwan, Japan, Singapore. The list goes on, ... And we've got a very specific focus because we believe that's a way of really delivering a win-win value prop, which is many of our startups need to enter new markets. Many of the startups in those countries wish to look at India as one of the largest growth areas for their technologies, their products, and they need help in entering the market. And we're glad to find that symbiotic relationship and grow it dramatically. Another example that I'll throw out is the B2B Sales Academy that we have experimented with most recently in the past quarter. And this has been a collaboration with TIE Delhi, NCR, the TIE chapter there. And it's been a fantastic experience for us in bringing together really a deep agenda driven by industry practitioners, charter members on both sides, who have built essentially a curriculum of sales oriented, customer focused, market entry focused best practices with a very focused approach of delivering it to SaaS founders and those that aspire to build SaaS startups. And this is an example of the kind of deeper, and maybe almost like a boot camp approach we want to take. And we'd like to do that with other chapters around the world that have similar aspirations. And we can share all of the material, all the speakers. The invites were free to anybody from anywhere in the world that wanted to join. And that's very important to us, is to try and make this as accessible, as inclusive, as collaborative as possible. And, without any further, and I know I like this, we have a lot of other activities I could talk about. We've done stuff on the Thai women's side. We've done top stuff on the TYE side, but I don't want to take any further time away from the first very big example you're going to see, which is the IoT Forum and the really brilliant IoT Matrix, agenda we have for this week, which in spite, normally the IoT Forum has a very vibrant in-person event every year, but this year due to the pandemic, we're stuck online. But they've done a great job of, overcoming all those hurdles in delivering a really great agenda alongside TGS. So we would love, like Vijeta said earlier, for all the TGS participants to drop in on really a very rich IoT agenda. So I will hand off to Joy and Arvind to tell us about IoT Matrix. And Vijeta, if you have an intro for them that you wish to make, please, I don't want to subvert your time here. Thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to this session.
Thank you so much, Ravi. You have talked very beautifully about the road that we have traveled and more importantly, the road ahead. As Ravi said, it's about collaboration and partnering. We want as many chapters, stakeholders, investors, embassies to work with us. We want to do more and create a wonderful impact for the ecosystem. But right now, it's all about the IoT Forum and IoT Matrix. So first, I would love to have Arvind Tiwari, who's been our champion for IoT Forum for many years. And Arvind, over to you. Someone who's a great entrepreneur. He's someone who's a very powerful driver for all of us. He inspires us, he guides us, he trains us, and he's an awesome dude also. And the other thing that we share is we both don't have much hair, but that's okay. Arvind, over to you. Go for it, sir.
Okay, I have shared my screen. Is that visible or?
Visible, Arvind. Absolutely
okay.
visible.
Thanks. Thanks, Vijeta, and thanks, Vijay Menon, Thai Global, and Fani Thai Hyderabad for giving us an opportunity. IoT Forum, as Ravi Guru had said, started as a special interest group. We are now a forum. This is our 6th year, and IoT in India is about a $15 billion industry. And we have about 2,000 startups. This is a pictographic from consumer wearable to smart home to agriculture to industrial IoT, drones, surveillance. We are very, very rich and deep. 5 years requires a lot of passion, and developing hardware and IoT is not easy. And our startups know that story, but we have a reasonable good success. We have brought a large community. We have brought a lot of skills, enterprise. These are our connects. You can follow us on Twitter, IoT for India. We have a website, which is very mobile friendly, new.iot for India. And we have a Telegram channel. We are fairly active on Telegram. Our engagement levels are high. We partner with CISO, IEEE, ISA, IoT, COE, NASCOM, DOT, and NABARD has been an anchor sponsor for us for many years. We do a lot of work in agri-tech, events, practitioners. We do a lot of hardware events, workshops, etc. But this year with COVID, that's been difficult. But we will do that. We have about 4,700 in mail. We have about 625 on different Telegram groups, 900 on our website. We have a channel that will give you about 5 to 6 IoT news worldwide in the morning, in the evening, so you can keep track. And we would encourage you to look at the website, etc. This is what we have done. The IoT segment in India, it's hardware, and in the initial days, people thought it was difficult, but we have done well. We celebrated the more mature startups on IoT Day, which happens to be around April 9th last year. And here you can see that we brought in some of the most successful startups. So we have Smarter Homes. They've got significant funding, about $6 million overall, 5 million, etc. They have about 70,000 apartments under water management. Loginex is based out of New York now, but they are doing a fair amount of work in logistics, and they are fairly competitive. Singapore and others are using it. Sectopol, you should know, digital pathology, fairly large, fairly aggressive. Tonboy is one of the stars of the show from India. It's in thermal imaging, but fascinating technology, and they're competing with everyone in the world. They're winning contracts with the army, with the Homeland Security, the Indian Army, etc. Raghav was fairly young, and it came out of the Bosch DNA Nimble, but they are building these labs, robots for you to do home food. They should have done well during COVID. Krishna, largest in agri-tech, earliest, largest 2 million hectares under management. Nirma is doing cancer detection, a lot of AI analytics, etc. One of the things that you should understand in IoT, it's a lot of technology. It's not a go-to-market. Business models have to be done, a lot of technology. One of the things which we at IoT Forum, we work with DOT, try to convince them that low power wide area network is necessary. Whereas 2G, 3G, 4G is actually no good. So NB-IoT, Cat-M1 and 5G has specific, but LoRa, etc., are very powerful, and that's been now sanctioned in India. What is unusual is private IoT networks. Many of you may not be aware, but Airtel has bought a satellite company in UK and plans to do. SpaceLink has just got about $800 million from Federal Aviation for rural broadband. Astrom is a startup here. There are about 18 startups in India into space. So network-based IoT, private IoT networks from satellite is happening. And we discussed that at the Industrial IoT. We had a panel discussing private IoT networks. It's fairly fascinating technology. We have done a lot of on agri-tech. It's very hot now. A lot of funding is going. So that's a sector that we have managed to go from emerging to mature. IoT platforms is an unusual thing because IoT guys try to develop everything. We have asked them to use open source layer technology, and edge is happening big time. Many of you may be surprised, but in IoT, the momentum is moving away from cloud to edge. Amazon the other day announced CPUs for edge, special packets. Everybody, Azure, etc. So edge-based AI, ML processing, local area networks, all that is happening, and part of that is security. Yesterday, 2 days back, Fisheye, which was the largest IoT security company in the US, got hacked. So you can see, and we have some platforms around that. IoT security is also something that we do. So this is our website, and you can see we host all the events. This includes TIE chapters also, and we cover all that. We do a lot of events. During COVID, we are doing almost 2 events a day. We do large events also. This is the IoT directory. We have it's a fractured market. We are around 2,000 thing, and we are 11 industries. So healthcare, smart city, etc. 50% of them are in Bangalore. We also do very niche things. So we can say that 44 are doing air pollution, and there are 34 doing semiconductor chip design, and that's very unusual. But there's a lot of genuine new semiconductor chips being developed for IoT. It's fascinating, and in fact, the semiconductor fabs are running at full capacity for the year. A lot of things has been done. We have a fair amount in ad tech, Bluetooth, etc., and that's very interesting. You can ask people to take a look at our startup option, newiotforindia.org, to see the details and all that. This is our website. It's new.iot. We have about 7,000 topics, 125 blogs. Every day we show about 12 topics we curate, and so therefore there's not too much news. The popular will let you know what has happened over the last 2 weeks if you're missed. So what are the popular topics? Events are the TIE IoT Forum events. Blogs are deep, insightful. We have fairly active blogs, about 1 per week, and very knowledge management to help in IoT. It covers all areas. Awards is our main thing, and at IoT Matrix today evening, 7 p.m., we are giving the awards. And there is a list here. You can Google that, you will find. We started in 2015 to 2019, so we have done. And we, of course, select the domains, which we do. So like Ather Energy was selected in 2016 for impacting automotive. Today, they have the Bansals, and Hero has paid money. They are fairly large. This was agri-tech. They haven't done much in India, but they're doing a lot outside India. And we had Ultigreen, which repurposes old cars, does battery. Tonboy, of course, has done very well. SedMac, you may not have heard, but it's out from IIT Mumbai, and they optimize the two-wheeler ignition engine, and they're very good. And now TVS, etc., are doing it. So we look forward to encouraging merging. Unlike other forums which look at market size or other proofs of evidence, we are at very early stage. So it's an act of faith. We have to select startups who may not yet have shown company traction. The idea is to help them get talent, people, and customers, and then capital. We are now ready to go global. We have the infrastructure. We are more than happy to assist you, to help you, and to assist you in growing. And I will hand over from here.
Thank you so much, Arvind. As always, very lovingly and beautifully, passionately put in. I must also say this, the IoT Forum team, that is Joy, Venki, Arvind Tiwari, Som, they bring in so much of passion, so much of knowledge, and very, very deep content. So once again, all roads after TGS 2020 is at IoT Metrics 2020, folks. So please be there. And now I would love to have the co-chair of IoT Forum, Joy, who's been the main driver this time for IoT Matrix 2020, working very closely with all of us to make sure it is a super duper success. Joy, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vijeta. Am I audible?
Absolutely clear. Thank you.
A word of thanks to the organizers of the TiE Global Summit and to Ravi for the fantastic introduction. Thank you so much. And to you, Vijeta, and to the audience for staying with us at this point of time. Typically, what happens when a conference of 2-3 days is winding down to a close, which is what is happening at TGS today, there is a little bit of parting blues, as if I may use that phrase. So if any of you is feeling the parting blues, saying that, oh, this event is now ending and we get back to our mundane lives and things like that, I have some good news for you. We have the IoT Matrix, which is kicking in just after TGS gets over at 4. So we start at 4:30, registrations and all that would be going on. And the first keynote for the day at the IoT Matrix 2020 is at 5 p.m. today. So give me about 10 minutes. Let me just explain to you what all do we have in store for you. We have 120 plus speakers lined up for you in just a span of 24 hours. So the sessions would be 36 sessions divided among 18 segments. And I'll try to explain to you what the segments are, with participants from 10 countries, which is why we're starting in the evening, going on till late in the evening, just to accommodate people in the other time zones and so on. Starting off early the next morning, just to take care of the eastern part of the globe and so on. And then we end at 5 p.m. tomorrow. So it's just one day of concentrated technology, venture capital support for the startup ecosystem that you can see. And we are running this on 3 parallel tracks. The slide that you see now has all the keynote speakers. And if you look carefully, I don't know how much of detail you can see on your screens, you can see a lot of the usual TiE suspects there. We have Venk Shukla, TiE Global Chairman. We have Ravi Gururaj, who spoke just now. We have Sanjay Anandram, who's a TiE Bangalore member. We have Naganand Doraiswamy, who should be speaking sometime in this session itself, plus a whole host of celebrities, people like Dilbag Gill. And I'm just moving to that session, to the agenda itself. I'm not going to go through the entire agenda, but this is just to give you a flavor. So at 5 p.m., we get off to a racing start. Why do I call it a racing start? Because we have the global CEO of Mahindra Formula Racing, e-racing. They actually build Formula One cars that work on electric vehicle technology. And Dilbag Gill is there to share his story with us, his experiences with us. And his session is called, interestingly, Give Me a Second. We are giving him 45 minutes. Okay. And after that, we are moving into an interconnected world. This is on the whole globalization theme. So we have Venk Shukla in a fireside chat with Vaibhav Parekh of Nishit Desai. And this whole thing is coordinated by or moderated by Sanjay Anandram, who's a TiE Bangalore charter member and was also on the board. And continuing on the globalization theme, we have globalization and expanding Indian startups. This is a chat with embassy and consul representatives from the various country consulates, mostly from the West, UK, USA, all those countries are represented here. And we followed that with understanding and participating in the UAE and the Middle East. So we have a panel that is exclusively dialing in from the UAE, just to give you a sense of what are the opportunities for startups, for business in that part of the world. We then have the awards. I will not talk much about the awards because Arvind has mentioned a little bit about the IoT Matrix Awards. The IoT Forum has somehow developed the knack of identifying startups and giving them this big slingshot at the beginning stages of their journey by recognizing them with awards. So some of the names that Arvind mentioned in the earlier part of the discussion, just about 5 minutes ago, you will meet some of these people on stage today because we are calling back some of the previous awardees. Of course, we'll announce the new awardees and give them the awards. We have more than, I think, 100 applications, or maybe twice that. I've lost track of the number. But we'll also be calling in the previous awardees to share their success story, to share what worked for them, how did the IoT Forum make a change in their lives. And so that's the first day. Of course, we finished by 10 p.m. with a closing note today. And then we have the day 2, which again starts with a little bit of the globalization theme. We have the Japanese panel, which is coming in, which will talk of AI and ML and how the Japan-India collaboration driven by METI can make this whole journey a little easier for startups that are looking at that part of the globe. We also have for want of a better word, an end-to-end of technology. We have space on one end, we have agri on the other. Space, if you see, is actually there in the panel called the ambient in the middle of the screen. We have the agri panel, the agri-tech panel in the right side in the intelligent track. And in between, we have the industrial IoT as well, industrial IoT, health tech. All those sessions are part of the agenda, and this would all happen in the forenoon tomorrow. Going on with the last parts of the second half of tomorrow, we will have sessions on smart living. So there are smart living sessions, both rural and urban, and this is conducted by our charter member, Mustafa Wajid. This includes, incidentally, panelists from Australia. So while I'm wearing a half sweater here in Namma Meggaluru, this person would actually be in the midst of summer, wherever he's dialing in from. We also have a session on smart villages, and this is being conducted with a panelist from the UK. So you truly have a global set of panelists, a global audience here. If you look at the registration, we are getting registration from all across the globe. So if I were to put it all together, the IoT Matrix, if I were to coin one phrase for it, is a booster shot of technology for you. I explained that there are 10 countries participating, 36 sessions, 120 speakers, all this condensed into a day, starting at 5 p.m. today, ending at 5 p.m. tomorrow. So what should you do? Here are the links. There is the link on top, gives you the agenda, the entire detailed schedule, gives you a snapshot of the speakers and so on. And the link below helps you to register. If you want to make life easier, just call up your ED and tell him, boss, please make sure that you register me for this event. And Vijeta, who's sort of coordinating this entire session, is there to help you to make sure that you're part of this event. That is it from me. Thank you. Back to you, Vijeta.
Thank you so much, Arvind and Joy. I think we should also mention the fact that look at the colors that we bring to the table. See the wonderful backgrounds that they have. See the the way the matrix has been created. So there's a lot of color and there's a lot of content, and that is something that we promise you after TGS. Okay, that's the thing. Please come after TGS. Right now, enjoy TGS. After 4:30, you are going to be with us at IoT Matrix. So that's what really matters. And now, Arvind and Joy, just a couple of things that we would like to talk about. The thing that accelerators, embassies, the METI, JETRO, so many people are involved with us, right? So why is it very necessary for startups to attend? Because we're also giving a lot of access. We have the booths, we have Microsoft, we have Western Digital, we have STPI. So maybe if you can just give a very crisp 1-minute overview as to what should startups do. If you were a founder, how will you navigate and take the full benefit of IoT Matrix?
Thank you, Vijeta. Arvind, with your permission.
Go ahead, sir.
So this entire conference is being organized on a platform very similar to the global summit that we are all attending right now. This platform is a virtual conference venue. It is a conference center. So as a startup, about 50 startups are there who are already exhibiting their companies, their products and services. So there's an entire exhibition area. You can meet fellow startups there. You can enter the stalls. You can converse with the owners, the CEOs, and their people in each of those stalls. So that is one. Meeting your companions, your compatriots, your friends from other parts of the globe. The main event is across 3 stages. So, and you can choose which stage you want to attend. And when you land up in the lobby using that link, which I shared in the slide, you actually get a choice of stages and the agenda is there for you to see. So you can choose which stage you want to go to, which track you want to attend. Uh, and we also have a VIP lounge. So this lounge is for the speakers. You can actually send a message to the speakers. As the organizers, we'll pass it on to them, and we will try to get them to have a one-on-one chat or a one-to-many chat in the various boardrooms that we have reserved in the lounge as well. You may find that among the participants there are people that you know, so you can actually call them out to the lobby, or you can call them out to a booth, a virtual booth, of course, and the two of you can connect with each other. We also have an entire, all the exhibitors actually have handouts that they can give to you. They can provide their links, their website links, product details, and things like that to you. I forgot to mention, there are also actual demos by 6 agri-tech startups on their products and services. So it is like going to a conference venue, except for meeting somebody and shaking their hand physically. You can do all that virtually. You can meet the speakers, you can meet the panelists, you can meet the organizers. We are there for you for the next 24 hours. Back to you, Vijeta.
Thank you so much, Joy. You said it so wonderfully. Now, I would love to invite Surya Narayan. So Surya Narayan has done so much of work in the startup ecosystem. He has been part of NSR Cell. He has also been himself a founder. He's had successful exits. He's a wonderful mentor to many startups, and very core knowledge in terms of healthcare, medtech is what Surya brings to the table. Of course, he's a charter member and he's also part of our governing body. So Surya will be talking about the startups ecosystem. He'll be talking about the way mentoring is being done at TiE Bangalore. And of course, we are collaborating with so many other people. So the thunder is over to you, Surya. Go for it, sir. Thank you. Just unmute yourself, Surya, please. Yeah, just unmute yourself first. Yeah. Surya, are you comfortable? Would you like something from us? Everything is well?
I'm not able to share screen.
Sure, I think that should not be a problem. I think, Rab, you can just give Surya sir the share screen option so that he can quickly share. So while you're doing that, Surya, while they figure that out, you would like to kind of share some of the insights and overview of what's going on with us?
Sure. Ravi has talked a lot about IoT. I would rather touch about how startups, financial strategies for startups during this pandemic and post-pandemic. And what are the ecosystems? Bangalore is a very vibrant ecosystems. TiE Bangalore, NSSL, NASSCOM are very effective in helping all kind of startups. And there are a lot of mentors available here willing to give a lot of time, not only to people in startups in Bangalore and all over the globe. So that's the very vibrant ecosystem. And TiE Bangalore has got 120 plus very vibrant charter members and got 400 plus startups.
So
Vijeta, may I suggest if the sharing is not working, we just go ahead.
yeah, we can go ahead. I was about to say, if there is no technology glitch in today's virtual world, then something is not going right.
Yeah, let's just, Surya, if you could just talk through some of the programs you were planning to talk about.
So typically in the COVID time, there are two kinds of startups. Sectors with tailwind, which means that they get a boost during the COVID because of COVID, others with headwind. The sectors are travel and tourism are looking bad. Hotels and restaurants are affected. Real estate is really in trouble. Aviation is in deep trouble. So I suggest a 4R strategy for all startups. First, recover. All startups should bring the overheads to near zero and avoid all non-essential expenses. Try and cut salaries reasonably and postpone right from the top. 80% of the expenses must generate revenues. Next is revive. Those who have headwind should press the gas and try and get more customers now. Sectors of tailwind should really focus because it's the right time to use your strategies now, like fintech, agtech, edtech, health tech. These are getting good opportunity to increase more and more customers. And those who are not supported by this should repurpose, either pivot to new normal or just hibernate for some time. And please reach out. Like only the crying baby gets the milk. Example, Printo in Bangalore had 50 odd stores and more than 70% of the landlords agreed to waive 3 months of rent because they asked for it.
These are some very interesting insights, Surya. Thank you so much.
Yeah, one more. Suppose it's a BCAD movement before COVID and after digital. So there's no new norm. Supply chain is going to become extremely important in the new norm. Logistics with social distancing, make in India for the world, data is king now. AI, ML, VR are going to play a very important role. And post-COVID, likely to be a hybrid kind of environment. No one expects that things will be back to normal again after some time. And there are a lot of support system available in India and in Bangalore. Like mentoring is free in TiE Bangalore. TiE Bangalore does a lot of work, does PYE. They start from very young age up to, and then they have women entrepreneurship supporter system. And then there is early stage green shoots are there because there are angels that started investing. Indian Angel Network, Mumbai Angel Network, Let's Venture, One Crowd are very active. A lot of VCs also active. Just Google and find a lot of active VCs. And of course, the NSSL is got a fantastic program. It's something called Launchpad. So anybody wants to have a mentoring session, they send a deck to them. They'll give you a mentor, and later on they have a 90-day pre-incubation launchpad, where they train the entire startups, and you graduate, you either continue or you become self-sufficient. After that, the incubation program. And a lot of incubators are there in Bangalore and around Numa, Giga, IMI. So the infrastructure is very good in Bangalore, and for not only for Bangalore, it's for India and for the globe. And the key in this point of time is getting mentored. So how do you select a mentor? You have to select a mentor who is willing to give you time, just not marquee names. Marquee names are good for you on your deck, but they may not be able to give you time when you want it. A good mentor is when you give you time when you want it, and willing to support you when you are down. So free mentoring is now more or less free in NSSL and in TiE Bangalore. Also, there are paid mentor systems like MentorKart, etc. So just to summarize, if you can afford to temporarily slow down or pause fundraising and then go ahead only if idea is good and relevant to COVID-19 scenario. A flat round of funding may extend the runaway of startups for some time. And if it's available, take it. Refrain from considering banks or funding at this moment because it's very slow down the process. Find sources of cash to stay alive, including potential during small short-term deals that help crunch. And there should be clear communication strategy with transparency, both internal company and external. to communicate with all the stakeholders, upfront tell them what your problem is, and give them a definite date by which they will respond. That's the kind of response people will appreciate. Postpone new launches if it's not relevant to COVID-19, and companies and services have products for COVID-19 should work on long-term strategies. Maintain cash flow, consider offering marginal discounts to realization of pending payments. Negotiation is the key. Emphasis on survival, and then for those who can, press the button.
Thank you so much, Surya. Thank you so much, Surya. I must also mention the fact that each and every one of you is always giving your time for mentoring. In fact, Ravi and Naganand are also part of the Karnataka Vision Group. And there's so much of work that we do with the Karnataka government, with the Elevate program. We all have our accelerators who are partnering us and supporting us. And now, the most important thing that always startups ask for, right? You all want funding. So while we at TiE will also definitely work with you on the go-to-market and mentoring, now we should get the two top guys in India, and they're doing so much of work internationally, a lot of cross-border collaboration. Parag and Naganand, who are two people that we all respect. They are giving so much back to the ecosystem and community, and all of them, they do so much for startups and founders. And talk to them now, because they will talk to you about funding and how the investment thesis. So Parag and Naganand, over to you. Both of you can start, and I know you guys will do a phenomenal job to educate all of us. Thank you.
Go ahead, Naga.
Okay, all right. So as it's always very easy when someone else puts you in the top two. Parag is number one, and I'm number two in that order. But thanks, Vijayta, for the quick introduction. What I'll do is I will spend a little bit more time on Bangalore as a city, and Parag, probably you can spend more time on the investment and VC area in what we have in terms of funding in Bangalore. We put out a report about Bangalore about 6 months ago. I'm not sure how many of you in the audience actually looked at it, but I thought I'll quickly run through a few key statistics that will basically highlight as to why our city is so vibrant and why startups come here. Not only startups, why everybody who has to do anything with tech, whether it is hardware, whether it is software, or whether it is life sciences, or in the intersection of bio and computer science, why is Bangalore such a hotbed, right? So, and it has got a lot to do with the history of where the city is, and we had first an IISc, everybody knows, and we have had all the public sector institutions start in India, and that evolved to all the IT companies. But if you take a snapshot of where the city is today, it is considered the most friendly for millennials in India, and it also ranks 18th in Asia. And 37% of our population is between 15 to 35 years of age. So absolutely strong talent, great set of people working. And it is considered the most digital savvy city in India as well. You know, the last count we had at about 6 months ago, 40%, close to 40% of the UPI transactions were happening in India, and that were happening in Bangalore. So that it's phenomenal use of digital talent. And about 33% of India's tech talent lies in Bangalore. Right? And this is the reason why you see any tech-oriented startup, even when business-oriented startups like business innovation-focused startups start in other cities, when they start getting technologically heavy, they always start their offices in Bangalore. So that is because of the fact that we have 33% of the tech talent available that is available in Bangalore itself. Right? And the reason why we have that high number is because 50% of the MNCs have their offices in Bangalore. There was about $20 billion of investment that went into GICs, and we have about 1 million people working in the GICs, out of which 50%, it's easy to say 50% of them are in Bangalore. And you must have seen that, when it comes to enterprise or product innovation, we are the go-to place, only because, if you look at the age bracket of 30 to 40-year-old founders, right? Not work experience, but actually age. In Bangalore, startups, 50% of them were above age 30. So in the sense, they've gone through the cycles of developing products in the MNCs, and now they are very, very prime to actually come out and do their own startup. And typical average age of people doing startups hence is about 11 years of experience in the industry, right? So there are more than 2K new founders. So I can go on with the statistics, but what I've told you now should give you an idea as to why this city is so vibrant, why this city is called the Silicon Valley of India, and why everybody gravitates towards Bangalore. And then, of course, with this comes a lot of other issues, and people have spoken about traffic, congestion, and the city losing its charm. But that there is some price you pay to the growth. And the good news is, all of us here, even in this group that we are participating, we work very closely with the government in resolving these issues, right? It is one of those cities where we believe that working with the government is very, very essential for the overall growth of not only of the city, the technology, the startup, and the industry, right? So hence, to what Vijayata's point, most of us are part of some vision group or the other that the Karnataka government has formed. And that is one key aspect that is very, very important for us to also recognize, is the government is very, very proactive, and this is not necessarily true now, but it has been true for the past 30 years. The government of Karnataka was the first one that brought the IT policy in India. The government of Karnataka was the first one that brought out EV policy. And Arvind will watch the fact that we did a lot of IoT related environmental projects with the government of Karnataka, with the Bangalore police. And the government is extremely happy in collaborating with the industry. And they, in fact, they are very, and for the first time, Ravi might have mentioned it as well, we brought out a program called Elevate, which is like no other program that has been conducted anywhere in India, where 100 startups in the very first version of Elevate were given grants up to 50 lakhs for them to take their idea forward. And it was completely driven by the industry. There was zero influence. There was zero inputs from the government in terms of which companies need to be selected. And TiE Bangalore played a significant role in ensuring that the right startups were selected. And to Surya's point, the 120 charter members that we have in TiE Bangalore were the juries, were the judges, in addition to other people in the industry. So we have a very strong, vibrant ecosystem where the government and the industry interact with each other. And that's what keeps things going, right? And you look at incubators, accelerators. Every GIC now has their own accelerator, incubator. You have organizations like Your Story and Zinav, based of Bangalore, who run a lot of events. And TiE Bangalore, we ourselves do a lot of exceedingly good events. So I think there's no dull moment when you're in Bangalore. There's no dull moment when you're an engineer. There's no dull moment when you're a VC. So we are all always very happy, very, very. It is phenomenal interaction with everybody in the industry and in the government, and we are very happy. And anybody who is listening to here, please come to Bangalore. Please work with us. We are, in fact, amongst all the cities in India, I think we are the most open culture city, and that is, and it is manifested by kind of, when you look at the population we have, it is so disparate, and a very welcoming city, and it's an awesome place to do, and no doubt we are #1 in India. And our hope is to take us to the map, to get to #1, be the top 5. I'll not say #1 in the world, although that's an ambition we all want, but I think that's a very, very futuristic goal. But it's a goal, but we want to get into top 5, top 10 city in the world. And, particularly for me, and now I'll stop talking about Bangalore and talk about myself, what I do. So I'm an entrepreneur, and now I'm a VC. And it's such an exciting time to be a VC, and our focus as a VC is to fund early stage product innovation startups, right? So we come in with a seed capital to help entrepreneurs, and our goal is to put India, not only Bangalore, but India on the map of product capital of the world. I think we have all the necessary ingredients now in terms of the ability to build great products, ability to market our products. India has come a long way, and so much, even true in Bangalore, we have come a long way in our ability to market and position our products. So I think our focus in IdeaSpring is to ensure that we work with these startups and then give them the money that is required early on, and ensure that we build products that can be sold in the world, aka global products that can be sold from India. And it's a phenomenal time because COVID has flattened everything. People who no one wants to meet you in person, and for a change, that's one positive aspect of COVID. And I don't want to say there's anything positive in COVID because it's such a brutal thing, but in terms of startups and the ability to sell, it has made a huge difference. Because you can reach out to anybody sitting, and all you need is a Zoom call. And even if you tell people, I want to come and meet you, they'll say, no, please stay off, just talk on Zoom. And hence it's been a phenomenal time for us to kind of increase our sales, right? Because that is one weakness we had in terms of the ability for Indian startups to sell to the world. And that has become very easy now. So I think we are in for great, exciting times. And you will see a lot of good startups coming out of Bangalore, and Idea Spring is very, very happy to be in this position to be able to support all the Indian entrepreneurs and build great products from India. So with that, Parag, I'll hand over to you, and you please talk about the VC infrastructure and the incubation facilities. And you have been here in the industry for 20, 25 years, probably the most experienced VC one can come across. So over to you, Parag.
Thanks for that energetic address and sell of Bangalore, so to speak. So I think first thing I wanted to respond to something that Vijayta said. Well, funding I think is overrated. In the success of a company, yes, funding is required, but many other things need to come together. For example, you have to find a customer first before finding funding, for example. So I don't want to overrate it. Second thing I wanted to say, and Naganan has said it beautifully, it's when an ecosystem comes together that success breeds success, isn't it? It's a network. What happened in the Silicon Valley, for example. And each of these pieces is falling together in Bangalore. That's what is happening, whether it is the ISCs, the IIMs, the accelerators, whether it is your story, various people, the lawyers, people like, let's say, Arvind on the IoT side, Tai, all of these are playing a role to support the entrepreneurs. There's so many events going on in Bangalore on a daily basis that even for us who keep track of the ecosystem, it's hard to keep track, so to speak. Coming to TiE Bangalore for a moment, I think the charter members, the 120 charter members that were talked about, they reflect skills from across the spectrum. And I think Joy referred to Mustafa, for example. Mustafa is somebody who helped Ather, a bunch of young guys trying to develop a fairly significant, involved technology product, set up their factory, so to speak. So you have people as specialized as that who can help you with something as particular as that. And I think various things were thrown around. So look at cameras, healthcare devices, space, semiconductor, electric vehicles, agri-tech. You try and find an expert within the TiE system itself. Even if it is not within that 1 degree of separation, it is in the 2nd degree of separation. And let me give you an example. We were looking at a investment in a company which does something very deep in battery technology. It's a specialized kind of a battery. Not many people in the world have tried the battery in the first place. We went around looking for experts, and out of the 6, 7 that we could find, 5 of them were in Bangalore. So it always helps to have an ISC around you, or some people who are deep into any technology around you. Bangalore and the ecosystem around provides that. Coming to the ecosystem around funding itself, let us say places like NSR Cell, I think Surya referred to it, one of the better institutional accelerators in the country. Let's take something like Axelar, for example, on the private side. They're doing a brilliant job of acceleration. There are various kinds of, obviously, the WeWork equivalents where you can start off from. Today, that might not be very relevant, but let us speak, let's say 6 to 9 months hence. Those kind of opportunities are there. And each of these, WeWork, etc., would do an event in the evening where people would speak, where you could pick brains. Many of us from TiE Bangalore, etc., go and speak there. So the ecosystem is coming together. There are lawyers. Let's say we have Sharda Balaji in our TiE CM group, who's spent about the last 10 to 15 years of her life on doing law related stuff for startups. She can help you on that front. So there are various people like Surya, for example, who have been involved in the startup. So it is a set of skills that is available. I often like to say the young people know the rules, the old know the exceptions. I think if you look at the TiE CMs, that is in Bangalore in particular, I think that is one place where you can learn about those mistakes that have been made before and you shouldn't be making. Coming to us for a moment, we are a early stage technology fund, maybe not as early as Nagas, but yes, early nevertheless. Pre-Series A, Series A kind of investing. Think about 5 to 15 crores in companies which are 15 to 30 months old. Technology companies could be consumer internet, mobile, software as a service, IoT, machine learning applications, fintech, those kind of areas. We have made 29 investments till date. We have existed in India since 2008. Redbus, Policybazaar are probably the better known names because they are B2C large companies, but we have many other investments, including one with Naga, for example, called Worksogo on the SaaS side. So as well as the enterprise side, so to speak. We continue to be very excited about operating out of Bangalore and look forward to interacting further.
Thank you so much, Parag. That was a very, very mesmerizing conversation. To just let everyone know, it is 1:52 now, so we have 7 to 8 minutes left. So if I may ask a couple of questions that has come in to Naganand and to Parag, you all can take it however you want to do it. Number one is that if the founder has to prepare himself to approach either Idea Spring or you Parag in Inventors, what are some of the preparation points? Because there are hundreds and hundreds of early stage founders who would be listening into you folks right now. So if you have to give them some bullet pointed preparation pep talks, but at the same time very focused, what would you talk to them about?
Parag, please go ahead. I'll follow you.
Okay. So I think I'm very fond of saying something. If you can't explain, you haven't understood. That is especially applicable to founders who tend to be very technical in nature. So to that extent, build that story. Make it easy. Make it easy for elderly people like us to understand, so to speak, or maybe low IQ people like us to understand. So get an analogy. Develop an elevator pitch. Those first 5 words that you say to describe your company are especially important. So find that thing. Maybe find an example in the VC's portfolio that kind of is in your allied space and build the story from there. It is always easier to understand something new from something that you know already. So put in a lot of effort in doing that in particular. The story is exceptionally important, I would say. Then it is a question of focusing on the right things. What are we looking for? We are looking for the team. So spend a lot of time describing your backgrounds, how you have worked together in the past. The chemistry should be apparent, etc., etc. That's what people look for. The second is the market, how large it is, how fast it is growing. And the third is the competitive differentiation. So spend thinking about these 3 planks in particular beyond what I talked about, the story. Naga, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think pretty much covered everything. And the most important thing is being passionate about what you're doing and your ability to convey why you're doing what you're doing, right? I think that is the key, because once that is clear and you know the problem that you're solving is relevant in the industry, I think those are the key aspects. And to that comes Parag's point on the team, and why you are the best person to solve that problem and how that comes out becomes very important, right? So those are the few things. And the other one we also look at is, although it's a hard problem to solve right at that moment, is how much money are you raising now, and with that what you intend to accomplish, right? Because that becomes extremely important, because what you intend to accomplish will also put you on the roadmap as to what is that you'll have to do for the next round. So it's not that you have to have everything figured out in the initial stages, but have some knowledge on what's going to happen in the next 15 to 18 months or next 18 to 24 months in your company, and why you'll be positioned well to also go forward, right? Because it's a great thing to say, that's what I want, I'll raise this money. But you have to also be very clear in explaining what is that you're going to do with that money, and where will that money take you, and why will the next round of investor be excited to talk to you from the position that you will be in 15 months, 18 months down the road.
Perfect. So we have another 4 minutes to go. Now, I would like to take this thread which has come in, and also a comment that Surya made about the pivots. So Naganan and Parag, when you talk about the fact that it is easier now for Indian startups to sell to the globe, how do they prepare themselves so that they've got their funding, right? Parag, you said funding is not the most critical thing, but sales, customer connects. How would you advise your founders in your portfolio to sell and sell more, make lots of money.
And Vijeta, if I could jump in and add two more things as they respond, consolidate it, give us a couple of examples of what, given the pandemic, the headwinds and tailwinds that Surya mentioned as well, right? Maybe you could give us a couple of examples of what you think are companies you would back because of tailwind and companies you would not back because of now inexorable headwinds, right? In some sense.
Thanks, Ravi.
Okay. So on Ravi's question first, I guess the hospitality segment, the travel segment, etc., is going through a really tough time at this point in time. So to that extent, anything to do with that, and we have a few companies that are suffering. I think they will come back, but clearly anywhere between, let us say, 1.5 to 3 years of their lifespan has been lost in the process. So you with limited fund horizons, you don't want to get into a business like that, for sure. On the obvious side, on the positive side, what we are looking for, the edutech, fintech, payments, etc., the kind of people that are benefited, I think that is kind of obvious. Digitalization, etc., etc. That enough of us have read about, have seen the numbers, have seen the metrics. I think what at least we are looking for is the non-obvious one. Let me give you an example. There is this company that does these skip intro button that you see on Netflix, or when somebody is smoking on screen, that no smoking sign that comes up. Can you do that automatically? Artificial intelligence. And obviously the Netflixes of the world are getting a fillip from this. And some of this, as it happens, no smoking is a good example, is kind of cultural in the sense that Netflix's US solution will not work here. So an Indian solution is required. So if you can find something non-obvious like this, which also has a large market, that's the one that we are looking for. The obvious ones we'll leave to the guys who have a lot of money, because there will be a lot of guys chasing that. So that's how I would answer this question. Naga, go ahead.
So quickly, Ravi, I think the pandemic has hit B2C companies a lot more than B2B companies. Right? Like to Parag's point, hospital, anything that has direct consumer facing has been whacked in this environment, right? But if you look at enterprises, in fact, it is speeded up the digital transformation process. So the way I see it, hence enterprise, and you see that story playing out now, hence more and more people want to get into enterprise startups only because every enterprise now is accelerating the digitization process. And we have been hearing about digitization for the past 5 years, but this is super accelerated now. Like for example, I jokingly say ISO 27001 used to say, what happens if one building goes down? It never asked the question, what happens if the world goes down? What happens if all the offices in the entire world is shut down? How will you still work, right? But that's what is going to come now. And it's like mind-boggling in terms of what, when you ask that question, how will you be still operational when every single building of yours is closed down, right? So, that's the opportunity you're staring at now in terms of enterprises. So I think in enterprise, that's why we've seen a lot more opportunities, and we're excited in the enterprise space for this particular reason.
Hey, and if I may just ask Arvind and Joy the same question, right? From their perspective of IoT, are you all seeing kind of adoption of touchless, robotics? Because it would seem also that should also get some tailwind, right? From this new movement.
Ravi, in fact, in India, it's been a learning for me, and this is something that is surprising. The strength in robotics, drones, and edge AI is tremendous. And I think if we have some funding and some help from consumers option, we will give Israel and Ireland a run for the money. We have a lot of talent. We are running intensive AI ML on RFID chips. I mean, you cannot imagine the ability our teams can deliver. Drones, which are exceptionally good, and surveillance and medical devices, contactless robotics. So we have the talent. We have the opportunity. We have a large consumer mass. We need a little bit of government regulation, if I may just mention. It still needs a little bit of tweaking and some amount of runway help. But that will happen. I think we are seeing tremendous traction on the technologies.
I think, Arvind, we need an IoT island somewhere, right? That is like an SEZ. Macau, like. Vijeta, you had a question interrupted for Parag and Naganan. Please
absolutely.
re-ask it to remind them.
I think they answered it very beautifully about the pivoting, getting ready, preparing themselves for funding to expand. I think all of you, Arvind, Joy, Ravi, of course, Surya, Naganan and Parag, great conversations. This can go on, but we have also have the timelines to keep in mind. I think you conveyed everything that matters. And of course, TGS 2020, TiE Hyderabad, wonderful organization. We really love this. And all the best for the next of the sessions. But after 4:30, IoT Matrix 2020 by TiE Bangalore, that's where we want all of you be there. So be there, be with us. And that's what we want to do. We want to give you a good time, guys. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Much appreciated.